I'm glad you can join me. My name is Jacqui Abboud and I'll be running this session with you. My hope in this session is to give you a little bit of information about NLP and specifically about beliefs and how they're connected. And also is to provide you with, I guess, some tools and some knowledge and things that you can apply almost immediately to yourself. There's some great exercises we're going to do a little bit later on, and I really hope that you enjoy and take it on board and play with all the information. This isn't an NLP training. It's just an opportunity to share some things with you and give you some help, provide some value in your life. So everybody's on mute, so there is, you can make as much noise as you like in the background. There's a Q&A chat box that you can use on your screen. It should come up and you can just type in any questions if you'd like to. So beliefs and beliefs of excellence. What are we really talking about? There is an old story, you might have heard this, about a patient who was being treated by a psychiatrist. So the patient wouldn't eat, wouldn't take care of themselves. They kept saying that they were a corpse, and corpses don't eat and corpses don't drink. So there was no need to do any of it. So the psychiatrist was basically pulling his hair out, thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get this person to try and convince them that they're not a corpse, that they're actually a living human being. So he spent lots of hours arguing with his patient, trying to convince him. Finally, he came up with this brilliant idea. He asked his patients, do corpses bleed? Well, the patient replied, of course not. Corpses don't bleed. All their body functions have stopped. So the psychiatrist thought, I've got him now. And he then convinced the patient to try a little experiment. He said to his patient, look, I'm just going to carefully prick your finger a little bit, and then we'd see if you start to bleed. Well, the patient agreed. He said, okay, let's do it. After all, he was a corpse. So the psychiatrist gently pricked the patient's finger with a needle, and sure enough, he began to bleed. And then with a look of shock and amazement, the patient gasped, oh my God, I'll be done. Corpses do bleed. And there you have it. Beliefs are very powerful forces, very powerful things that structure our behaviour. It's I guess it's a common bit of wisdom around that. If you believe something, if someone believes something will happen, then it will. If they believe they can do something, then they can't. And if they believe they can, they can. And if they believe they can't, they can't. So beliefs are really very powerful filters around and affect our daily effectiveness. You can have positive beliefs and empowering beliefs, as well as beliefs that really limit us and limit our choices and so on. There was another example of that too, was a story told about a study in which a group of children were tested to have average intelligence, and then they were divided at random into two equal groups. And one group was given to a teacher, and the teacher was told, these kids are really gifted. And the second group was given to another teacher, and that teacher was told that, well, the kids were just below intelligence, and they were slow learners. Anyway, a year later, both groups of kids were retested for intelligence. And not surprisingly, the majority of the group that was arbitrarily assigned to the slow learners group scored low on their intelligence tests, and those who were assigned to the above average or the gifted group scored really well. So the teacher's beliefs about how the students were and the students' capability really affected their performance and their ability to learn. So you can see beliefs are very powerful of our behaviour. So what does that mean? I mean, in NLP, there's a lot that can be said about explaining how beliefs work and how you can actually change them if you have empowering, or how you can change them. If they're empowering, you might want to make them stronger and reinforce them. And if they're disempowering beliefs, how you can actually transform them. So there are three common areas of limiting beliefs for a lot of people, and this is a bit of work. Most of this presentation and webinar has been developed from the work of Robert Dilts and Michael Hall. So they're great NLP practitioners, trainers, master trainers, and they have written quite extensively on this and many other areas as well. So I would highly recommend their books to you, and there's a lot of information about them on the web as well. So common areas of limiting beliefs for people are areas around hopelessness. So if a person believes that they don't, that something is not really is out of their reach, so a common statement or way of that person might express themselves would be, no matter what I do, it won't make a difference. So the goal isn't possible for that person, and they feel really like a victim in most situations. So things are outside of their control, and they're really unable to take responsibility. They feel they are, or they believe they are, and they believe that they're a victim. The second area of limiting beliefs is around helplessness. So even though a goal might be able to be achieved, and it's possible, a person doesn't believe they're capable of actually achieving that goal or that outcome. So it's possible for others, but not for me, because I'm not good enough and I'm not capable enough. So it's a lot about capability. And the third area is worthlessness. So a person may think that the goal is possible, and they even may think they have the capability to do it. The person believes that they don't deserve to get what they want. And so there's a sense here that that there's something wrong with them. And with them as a person, they deserve whatever pain and suffering they're going through. And they don't deserve happiness, they don't deserve health, they don't deserve that great job, they don't deserve having that great relationship. So those are sort of three common areas of limiting beliefs. And I wonder whether you have recognised any of those in your own life. Maybe there are some of those limiting beliefs that operate in your life, or there could be others. So as we go through this webinar, if you've got a pen and paper, it would be really great to just jot down some of your thoughts in relation to areas of limiting beliefs that you might have. Or it could be any of these, but it could be something else as well, that something keeps coming back to in your thinking about, oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or if I did go out, I'd get into trouble, or there could be a lot of beliefs that you have. And the thing about beliefs too is they really operate mostly outside of conscious awareness. So they're in the background, operating in someone's mind, influencing their behaviour. And people often are not really even aware of what's going on in the background. So NLP, there's a lot of specific techniques in NLP to really elegantly and effectively help people shift these type of limiting beliefs, and a lot of other type of limiting beliefs as well. So for example, you might change belief from hopelessness to hope for the future, a more positive, empowering outlook, and a sense of capability and responsibility instead of helplessness, and a sense of self-worth and belonging instead of worthlessness that a person may be feeling or experiencing. There are lots of beliefs of excellence around. The NLP founders, actually, they modelled people who were geniuses in the field and really excellent at what they did. They're no longer around, so people like Virginia Satir and Gregory Bateson and Fritz Perls, just to name a few. And so some of the beliefs of excellence that were modelled from them, for example, was there's a concept that there's no failure, only feedback. And that's a real strong belief to have, no failure, only feedback. So every time you don't achieve an outcome, that you want. You're always achieving an outcome, but it's not always the one that you want. So looking at that as an opportunity and an opportunity to learn more about what it is that you want, and a possibility and to get closer to your outcome. So that's a much more empowering way to look at things that go wrong than the other way, which is, oh my God, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough, and so on, which doesn't go anywhere. I think a lot of these beliefs, the measure of whether a belief is limiting or not really is what your thinking helping you get closer to what you want to achieve in your life, or is it taking you away from what you want to achieve? And if you're moving away from, then the measure of something is not really an outcome. It's not really whether it's good or bad. What is your thinking effective? Is it helping you achieve what you want to have in your life? So a belief such as there's no failure in your feedback is one that a lot of people who are brilliant at what they do, it's not that they don't get things wrong, that they don't make mistakes. It's just that when they do, they actually take it as an opportunity to learn more and to get closer and closer, incrementally sometimes, to what it is they want to achieve. Another really good one, another really good belief of excellence is we have within us all the resources we need to succeed, and it's just a matter of knowing how do I access that. And that is, with all things being equal, all human beings, we're born the same, we generally have the same health, and so on. And if we know how to do something, very likely we'll be able to do it. So we all have within us the resources, the mental capabilities, the physical ability, and so on, to be able to do things. It's a matter of knowing, asking yourself, how can I actually achieve that, instead of putting obstacles such as I can't do it, it won't make a difference, and so on. Really taking responsibility for your life and acting on those things. And there's a lot of work in that. I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying that it is very straightforward. What I am saying is that it's something that you can work towards and evolve into. So NLP can help with a lot of that. What is NLP? Here's a real brief and quick explanation about NLP. We've spoken about this, you would have seen this on some of my other webinars before. It's really a discipline, a process for understanding how the language of our mind helps us create the patterns, the behaviours, the strategies, and so on that we use in our daily life, and what a difference that will make when we actually can be able to do that and take control of our own mind and our own brain. The NLP communication model, in the context of beliefs, you can see beliefs right in the middle of this guy's head, and beliefs act as a filter for for all the information that comes in from our environment. So you see there's an external event that happens on the outside, and then our filters, our internal processing, we delete, distort, and generalize that information, because we're not able to take in everything that happens outside. We're not able to process all of it. Rather, is a better way of putting it. There's something like 2 million bits of information bombarding our senses, and we really can't handle it all. If we let it all in, it very likely drive us crazy. So our senses are the first level of filtering, and then the second level of filtering is the internal processes that occur in our mind, and the filters, they select bits of information that we pay attention to, so they delete other bits. It distorts information. The filters also generalize information, and values and beliefs are right in the middle there. And you see beliefs are a real determinant, or a significant filter of how we actually do all of that and manage that information that's coming in. So what happens on the inside then is we delete, distort, and generalize. We create an internal image, or we have thinking going on, and that thinking is made up of images, feelings, sounds, smells, and so on, about what's going on. How we think about what's going on in our mind influences how we feel in our state of being, which influences our physiology in our body, which then impacts our external behaviour. And here's just a summary of that last cybernetic loop of what's going on inside of us. Our thinking process influences how we feel, and how we feel influences what we think, which influences our body, which influences our feelings. So this is a loop that goes round, and really all of this in combination really influences how we behave in the external world. And our external behaviour includes the language that we use when we're communicating with other people, our physical, verbal and non-verbal behaviour. So it's all influenced by this loop here. So for example, if I have a belief that, let's say that I don't deserve a promotion at work, even though I've been working towards it for years and years and years, I believe maybe I can't get that next job, or I'm not good enough, I don't deserve that promotion. Well, if I'm thinking that, you might imagine the pictures that are going on in my mind might be about me, feeling very bad about myself, or having an image of myself being subdued and so on. Or I might be saying things to myself like, you're not good enough, you don't deserve it, don't even think about going there, which would put me in a state here of maybe feeling really, I could be feeling depressed if I was saying those things to myself, and really feeling unhappy. And there's a lot of unhappiness can be there as well, and that would really influence how I held my body and how I moved through the world, because you understand, the mind and body are one. So if my mind is thinking that, then my body is also reflecting that, and therefore my behaviour will also reflect that belief, and that might be expressed in terms of when I go into that job interview, I might not respond easily and quickly to questions. I might not look the other person or the interviewer in the eye as I'm talking to them. I might be very hesitant and come across as really lacking a lot of confidence, which is one way my behaviour might be interpreted. And the chances really of getting that job or that promotion are really significantly reduced by that behaviour. At the same time, if you have a real strong belief around how good you are and how deserving you are of that promotion, then you would have thoughts might be, I'm really good, I've done the work, I deserve this promotion, I'm good, I value challenge, I can go out there and make things happen, I'm a really good learner. And that would actually put me in a state where I feel much better about myself, and I feel really confident and strong and capable, and therefore that's also reflected in my physiology. Just the thought of feeling, if you just now think very quickly, just feel, okay, I can really do this. If you say that to yourself and really confident, I can really do this. I can feel my breathing being really centered and really balanced. I can feel my posture up, just sit up straight as I'm, even saying that. And that will be reflected in my behaviour and how I respond in that interview. And the chances of me actually getting that job will be much higher. So that cybernetic loop and understanding how beliefs influence that is really, really critical. I think that the next slide is important and valuable to really understand how beliefs are formed, which is a really interesting thing to understand the structure of belief formation. When we understand the structure of how they're formed, the value and the power in that is then we can understand how to deform a belief as well, particularly a disempowering belief. So what you actually have here, in essence, is we start with thinking down the bottom, and what we're taking, we use our awareness to take in information from the environment, and then we represent that as experience and as thinking. but we don't really know if it's true at this stage. So it's really just a thought. And we can have a lot, you can think a lot of different things, but not necessarily believe all of them. So, for example, you hear some of the things on the news, on TV, or you're watching a current affair, or you're reading some of those gossip magazines or something like that, and you read about some celebrity, and you think, oh, that doesn't sound realistic, that doesn't sound true. So you may not actually believe it, but you think about it, and you still don't know. So you have some questions and doubts about what you're thinking, about what you're taking in. So what we start to do is we start to organize our thoughts into like a body of knowledge. And as these thoughts and thinking, as that gets a lot more clarity, we develop knowledge and information about things, and then we might get more information, and we might have more experience. And then what happens is our knowledge, through getting more evidence and getting more experience, and through repetition, it takes on the form of learning and understanding. We now develop an understanding about whatever that external event was. So, and then we get more definite ideas, less doubts, less questions, and then we start getting a more solid base of reality, and the ideas here are really forming and becoming stronger and clearer. And then we're so clear on them. When they're really clear and confirmed and validated, they become beliefs. And when we really hang on to our beliefs, they also really strong beliefs, so sort of become convictions. So we start with an area where we're just thinking, we develop understanding and ideas and knowledge about things, and then through repetition and gathering information and validation of that information, they become beliefs and become convictions. So we increasingly move from a thought to knowledge to a belief, and repetition of ideas over time can focus the mind, so the idea seems more acceptable, more real, more matter of fact, and much more believable. So over time, with a lot of repetition, things can become a belief. So if you think about it, we started with a thought, and then it's become confirmed and validated. The idea here is that with the confirmation and the validation, it becomes a belief, but we actually don't have the ability, our mind doesn't have the ability to actually quality control those beliefs. So it doesn't come with that ability to quality control it. So with repetition, things can become beliefs. So when you think of something like propaganda, political propaganda, a lot of people didn't believe the greenhouse gases, the scientific evidence and all of that was real, or was actually very strongly validated. So when that first came out, there was a lot of questioning about that. It was not acceptable. There were to and from, both for and against arguments. So there was a lot of reason, a lot of knowledge being gathered, and a lot of ideas and beliefs about it. And some people even now refuse to believe that greenhouse gases are causing or contributing to global warming. And but there are a lot more people now believe it than before, and so it's becoming more of a well-known common belief. And there's some people out there who are really totally convinced about it as well. So you notice that even with the repetition of an idea over time, it focuses our mind more and more, so that the ideas become more acceptable, more real, more matter of fact. The thing is that this process works with weird and crazy ideas as well. So, some of the, I guess when you look at, again, if we talk about propaganda, some of the fear-based propaganda that's on the news in relation to various things, people start believing what they hear on the news, and it can create fear and anxiety in the population as a whole, and then people start overreacting in certain circumstances and so on. So the thing is that understanding that a belief starts as a thought, and through various steps along the way, it becomes confirmed, it becomes validated, and it becomes acceptable and firm. Knowing this, knowing how powerful our beliefs are, they're so powerful that beliefs can make us sick, they can make us healthy. We spoke about if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. So it's really important to regularly check our beliefs to make sure we have healthy and empowering beliefs, and really change the ones that limit us. So beliefs in that way have the power to control, monitor, modulate, and organize our thinking and perceiving. We see the world really in terms of what we believe. And so that makes them very powerful filters. We actually actualize our beliefs. We identify with them. I believe I'm a good mother, although sometimes I'm not. But if I, I believe I'm a good mother. I believe I'm a good person, and then my beliefs will really drive me to actualize that and to be good and to be kind and to be listening and to be compassionate with other people. But if I believe I'm a bad person, then again, that very likely, or if I believe I don't have any control over my behavior, I'm bad because I was brought up by an abusive, in an abusive environment, and that's why I do what I do, and I have no control over it. Again, that influences how I might actually, or how you might actually behave. So in NLP terms, beliefs really correspond to programming part of the P in NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming. So whatever we believe really functions as our software, and it really creates our reality. Really good thing about this is that the same way that beliefs form, they can also be deformed. So you can actually undo a belief. And when you undo a belief, it's sort of the reverse process. So you might have a firm belief about something, and then you start asking some questions. If you think back to your childhood or earlier, you might have beliefs around various things that you no longer believe. And it's not like, okay, one day I woke up and I just don't believe this anymore, although that can happen. And some people can go into shock when there might be a belief that is really changing and really confronting, and happens very quickly. But generally, as we grow up and we grow older, our belief systems or our beliefs around various things change. So you might have believed in Santa Claus or when you were younger, and you're no longer doing that. So what happened? How did that change? So first of all, what really goes on is we start to ask some questions. Is it true? Is it not true? What else is going on? No wonder, my friends don't believe in Santa Claus. How come? What's going on there? So you start asking yourself some questions. And then as a result, you start having some confusion about your belief. Is it true? Is it not true? And you become unsure. And in time, a little bit even more unsure and uncertain about the reality, about the truthfulness of that. When a thought grows into a belief, our mind closes more and more. So when we start questioning it, our mind starts opening up to other ideas and allows other observations to enter, sort of counter examples to what's going on. So a belief starts moving backwards from ideas to understanding. You start looking at other examples. And so as your consciousness and your focus sort of starts expanding, you start asking more questions and you become more tentative about what it is you're thinking now. It's no longer really a belief. And so when you have a belief, without a shadow of doubt, you might say, yes, I believe this. Now you start thinking, well, I don't really, maybe there's something else out there. And so you start moving back down this pyramid to the area of thoughts, and where you don't really know anymore. about things in terms of the knowledge. You don't really know, well, maybe we could say Santa Claus doesn't exist, but, there are other things that you start maybe not believing so strongly. And you might even say, oh, no way, of course he doesn't exist. That's ridiculous. And you say, so you start becoming really open, and your awareness sort of opens up as well. Now, the really good thing about knowing about this and how beliefs are formed and so on is we can actually do some exercises to change beliefs or to transform them. So what I wanted to share with you is some other insights and ideas about this is what you think is what you get. So this is what we were saying earlier on. What we're talking about is that we are what we think we are, and all that we are arises from our thinking, from our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make our world, and much wiser people than me have stated that. Here's another example. It's the mind that maketh good or ill, of ill, that maketh rich or happy, rich or poor. So it's how you think about things, it's your beliefs that really govern your life and what you create and how you create it and what you experience in life. Other examples of our beliefs, beliefs around optimism and enjoying life and having a really good life and looking on the positive side of life. And that's also described as a habit of thinking. And there's a lot of good work being done by Martin Seligman. He's a third person I didn't mention earlier on, who around beliefs as well. Pessimistic habits of thinking might be a person blames themselves and they believe that an event, when something bad goes wrong, the person might blame himself for it. And so there's an overdeveloped sense of responsibility there, so they take 100% blame for that, and they believe that whatever has gone wrong will go on for a very long time, and the impact of that will undermine everything. On the other hand, optimists do the opposite. They believe that circumstances or bad luck or other people are responsible for bad events. So they might take some responsibility, but they actually place the majority of responsibility on the outside to, on other people. They think that whatever's gone wrong, that defeat is just temporary and it's not going to last, and that the effects are just limited to the immediate specific area or time in their life. So there's different sets of beliefs really that are characteristic of an optimistic outlook or a pessimistic outlook. And again, these things they're not either or, they're both generally, they operate on a continuum. It's not really black and white, it's an overall pessimistic outlook and an overall optimistic outlook. And these things can go up and down as well. So it's not really, all the time this way, all the time that way. But there's an overall feeling of one or the other. So at the core of pessimism is a feeling of helplessness, which is one of those three that we mentioned earlier. One of those three limiting belief areas that we mentioned, and this feeling of helplessness. Whereas optimists have a feeling that, or this feeling that they do have control in what's going on. So Martin Seligman wrote a great book called Learn Optimism, and he outlines some steps that a person can go through. And I thought these steps are really interesting because they're sort of reflective of the exercise that we're going to do very soon. And the first thing is to really recognize your thoughts and that are going on in your mind. So when you're feeling not so strong or when you're feeling unresourceful, it's a good idea to have a look at and identify what are the thoughts that you're thinking. And then the second, third, fourth, and fifth step is really interesting because all of these fundamentally seem to have a very similar approach, and that is disputing those thoughts. So you dispute the thoughts by looking for evidence to the contrary, you look for different explanations, different meanings, and you distract yourself from distressing thoughts. So that might be, say, changing your state, as we talked about in NLP, change your physiology and change everything else. And then you learn to recognize the fifth one and question the assumptions. So underlying his approach quite a lot is this whole idea of really questioning your thinking. How are you thinking about whatever the event is, and really challenging your thoughts? So it's just something for you to think about as we, now go on to explore one of the exercises that I'd like to take you through. Do you really challenge your thinking? And how do you challenge your thinking? In NLP, there's a lot of tools to enable you to do that. There's sleight of mouth patterns, there's the meta model, a lot of great ways that you can, models, techniques that will actually help you learn to challenge your thinking and your thoughts. What I thought would be really good would be to go through an exercise with you, which is about challenging your thinking a little bit, and uses that structure of creating a belief where you validate a belief and confirm it, using that structure and that format to actually deconfirm the belief and then to confirm the belief that you do want to have, so be able to change a belief that you would like to change. So the first step in that is really to identify something. If you have a pen and paper, I think this is coming really handy. So what really empowering belief would you like to have? Now, if you could have any empowering belief, what would that be? It might be, I'm a capable person. It might be, I am worthy. It might be, I deserve that promotion. It might be any of those. So just go ahead and write that down. As you think about that empowering belief, what gets in the way of you being healthy or wealthy or, getting that career promotion that you've been after, or having that wonderful relationship? What beliefs do you think get in the way of that? What belief or beliefs get in the way of that? Just choose one of those. Choose the first one that comes to mind. Might be one, might be two, but choose the one that comes to mind. As you explore that, just ask yourself, how does this sabotage your success or undermine your effectiveness? Have you had enough of it? Or do you need to feel more pain? What would you get if this belief wasn't interfering? What really good things would happen in your life? Really valuable at this point is to give yourself permission to change that belief. And say something is, I give myself permission to change that belief now. Sometimes all we need to do is give ourselves permission to make a change. And as we do, recognize that everything we do has a positive intention behind it. We do it for some positive values. It might be about having more love in your life, or more security, or it might be around having more fun, or more stability, or more harmony. It could be any of those things. And most of our behaviours and our beliefs always have a positive intention behind them, even the ones that we don't like, or that are disempowering for us at the moment. When we first took those beliefs on board, which very likely is at a young age. We take on a lot of beliefs from our parents and people around us that we model. And we tend to just adopt those beliefs and live through them our entire lives without really questioning or challenging them. And when you took them on maybe as a child, that's the best you knew how to do, and you might very well have taken on some beliefs because, being accepted depended on that. Having love in your life depended on you taking on board what other people told you or said for you to do. And so on some level there is a positive intention behind every belief. So recognize that even that negative belief that you had would have had some positive intention behind it. And just say thank you to that belief. Just say thank you. And just acknowledge that you chose that belief at some time in your life. And you did it with love and wisdom, and it served you at the time. And now, just say, I now choose to let it go. I now choose to let that go. So now ask yourself, what empowering belief would you like to have in its place? What empowering belief would you like to have? Now, what I'd like you to do is just think of something that in every fibre of your being, in your body, you can say a definite and unquestionable no to in a way that's fully congruent, something really fully congruent. And say that no again and again until you feel it, until you notice it, and take a snapshot of that in your body. What is it like on the inside in your body? As you say no to something that you really know and understand that it doesn't apply for you anymore. So, for example, would you push a little child in front of a speeding bus just for the sake of it? No. Would you eat a bowl of dirty worms? If that's the only food you had available, and if you had delicious food available, would you do it? Say no. So you just say a very definite no. Just think of that, and again say no, and just use a hand gesture. And it might be even a tonality with a voice. Hear your voice say no. No. With that certainty and that congruence. And just feeling all of that powerful no. Even that hell no. Feel this fully as you think about that stupid or that limiting belief that you used to have, the belief that no longer works for you. Apply that no to that belief right now. Just go ahead and say no to that limiting belief. And keep on saying no to that limiting belief until you feel it has no power anymore to run your programs. It's got no room anymore. It's had its day. It's done. So you just keep applying that no to that limiting belief. And how many more times with that voice and tone do you need to really totally disconfirm that old belief that you know deep inside you has no longer any space to run any of those programs? Just keep saying no to that until it blows out and turns into a matter of fact no. Just a no. And now, what I'd like you to do is access a real strong yes. Think about something in every fibre of your body says yes. Something you're really certain about, something you're really sure about. Totally and completely yes. It could be, oh, yes, the sun comes up every day, or is there something like that for you that you can just say yes to? Maybe a loved one, it might be your child that you really love, and you say, yes, I really love, and yes, I'll look after my child, and yes, I would do everything for my child. It might be yes for that. Notice that yes. And it might be something, books that you love, or art that you love, or something that you really feel very congruent about. That's a real powerful yes for you. And just say that yes. Pay attention to that feeling of yes. And that voice. Use your voice to say the word yes. Gestures with your hands and your body. Things that mean yes to you. Yes, yes, yes. And on a scale of 1 to 10, you just amplify that. Make that a 12. A real strong yes. Now, as you're feeling that yes, even more fully, I want you to apply that yes to that empowering belief that you want. Apply that to that empowering belief. Yes, I can. Yes, I deserve. Yes, I feel worthy. Yes, I do belong. Yes, apply that. Do you want that? Yes. Do you really want that? Are you certain? Does it serve you well? That's right. Yes. How many more times can you really say yes right now so that you feel you fully welcome that empowering belief into your body, into your presence, into your mind? And you just keep repeating that new belief. And you keep saying it to yourself in that really powerful way, using that energy of yes to make it real, and certain in your life. And as you do this, take that out into the future. Imagine yourself operating through this new empowering belief that is going to act as an attractor in your life, that will help you organize all the events around you to make things become a reality for you exactly as you want them to be. Imagine taking this belief out with you into the future, tomorrow, the next day, the next few days, weeks ahead, months ahead, years ahead, how this empowering belief will just evolve and grow and just become much more of an organizing factor in your life, controlling, modulating, creating opportunities, influencing how you behave and how you can make sure things happen the way that you want them to happen. So empowering, strong, certain, and conviction around how you move through the world, and this empowering belief. Just yes with everything that you do. You just let all that happen and trust your unconscious mind to allow that to happen in the best way that is best for you and that suits you and your family and your environment and all your ecology in a way that's positive and constructive. That will make a difference not only for you but for all those around you, at work, at home, in every environment, with family, with friends, with your loved ones. All of this belief will just continue to grow and evolve and become more empowering for you. You really want this? Yes. And just notice how it really improves your life and how valuable it is for you right now. Wow. We've come to a close of our time together. I really love this. It's such a powerful process, and I'm thinking you can take it and use it in any context, in any environment where you want to strengthen current beliefs, where you want to change limiting beliefs. I wish you the joy of that. If you have any questions about any of this, please give me a call or a hoy at Jacqui@jacquiabboud.com. I'd love to hear from you. On the website, there's a lot of information about the different programs I run and different ways that I help and work with people, and I'd love to hear from you. So give me a call, contact, email, text, whatever you like. All the best. Thank you.